All right. Good evening, beautiful souls and brilliant minds. Welcome to another transformative episode of Know Your Pharmacist, the show where we connect, collaborate, and create a happier, healthier world together. I'm your host, Dr. Joaquin Acosta, CEO of Pharmtrue, and your trusted guide on this journey to wellness. Tonight, we've got an absolutely captivating lineup that's both enlightening and empowering. We're diving into deep topics that matter, topics that touch the soul and stimulate the mind. So grab your favorite herbal tea, sit back, and let's make history together tonight. First up, we have our Pharmacist Frontline segment where we'll brainstorm innovative ways pharmacists are becoming the unsung heroes in suicide prevention. Guys, September is also Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, so we're tapping into that today. This is expert science meeting heartfelt compassion, and you won't want to miss it. In our Tech Talk, we're exploring technology that can be a game changer in suicide prevention. It's productive, it's groundbreaking, and it's up next. Our Enlightenment Hour is all about the science of kindness. We'll delve deep into the simple acts of love that can thus create ripple effects for positive change. It's both fascinating and heartwarming. Then we'll shift into the gears of our Herbal Wellness Corner. We're going to discuss the complex relationship between cannabis access and mental health. It's a nuanced, excellent conversation you won't want to miss. Our community spotlight, guys, we're going to be shining light on the incredible work done by the LC Suicide Prevention Group. We're nurturing connections and fostering education in the best way possible. And last but not least, our Men's Health Minute. It's going to be focusing on Movember's unique approach to men's mental health. It's a creative, insightful segment that's going to leave you inspired. Big thanks to our incredible show sponsors who make this all possible: Pharmtrue, High Horse, the Trichome Alliance, and Vado Speedway Park. Your support is invaluable. So are you ready for an interesting, great, and positively life-changing experience? Let's get this thing started, guys. So starting this one out, September being National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, guys, want to make sure that we are all, following the same kind of order here. The New Mexico Department of Health recently came out with an article titled "All New Mexicans Have a Role in Suicide Prevention." So again, here, just specific to us, in 2021, New Mexico ranked 4th in the nation for suicides. Among New Mexico residents, suicide was the second leading cause of death for ages 34 and younger in the same year. In 2022, New Mexico hospitals reported more than 2,000 emergency department visits related to suicide attempts and more than 18,000 emergency department visits related to suicidal ideation. The majority of suicides involve firearms in the state of New Mexico. So, a lot of things to digest there, but really, right, what even our Department of Health Secretary Patrick Allen is saying here, the ramifications of a crisis or the loss of a loved one to suicide extend far beyond the immediate circle, necessitating united efforts to address this distressing concern. Department of Health's approach to suicide prevention is rooted in data insights and guided by the voices of those who grappled with suicidal thoughts, attempted suicide, and suffered losses. So, what can be done in those situations? Well, Suicide Awareness Month, that's an important thing because when you do talk about any of our chronic diseases, illnesses, whatever it may be, advocacy and awareness is top of mind when you're coming into education and change and, transformation. And that's the things that we need to happen here. New Mexico, guys, we are, the 4th most state in suicides there in the country, which is really disheartening because, we are not a big state population wise. So, that ratio of suicide to, population is not good. And, it's unfortunate that our society is at a point, where it gets to, and where you look at the things like, dopamine generated by, all the digital things in the world now and all the alerts and notifications and the way that people, truly are new case studies with the whole way that life is being lived right now. It's just interesting to note that we should be even that much more, right, sensitive and aware for, the signs of, losing a loved one to a suicide attempt, and so on and so forth. So, I thought this was something that I liked. It was a employee wellness release for the Albuquerque Public Schools. And I'm going to read this to you guys here because, I thought it was just important. And showing here, September is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. The 2022 New Mexico Department of Health report on mental health showed that 1 in 10 adults experience frequent mental health distress, and 1 out of every 15 adults in New Mexico seriously thought about suicide in the last year. And, what does that mean? It could mean a lot of things, but I think it's important for us to, take an extra look at this and look at all the resources that we have available, so on and so forth. I'm sharing the screen with you guys as I interrupt myself here on this one, but I just want to make sure that we're all kind of seeing what I'm seeing. And we'll do it like this. How about that? So when you're looking at those statistics there, it's showing, again, 1 out of every 15 adults in New Mexico seriously thought about suicide in the last year. It's time to open the lines of communication and normalize this conversation about mental health because it's drastically impacting our community's well-being. The people in our midst flying just under the radar, their battery isn't at 1%. They may seem like the person who has it all together. They may be the joker, the caregiver, and carry their same responsibilities as everyone else. Yet their exhaustion comes from the internal struggle in their mind. It takes a lot of strength and courage to hold up your guard every single day. So, right here, we may assume a lot about someone, and much of it could be incorrect. The truth is we never know what someone else is going through unless they share it. So this week, my encouragement to you is to extend kindness, even those really hard, stressful moments. That one simple act could be given someone who really, really needs it, the strength they need for the day. And, totes to the writer of this article, Becky McGregor at Albuquerque Public Schools. It was a very nice, message to their staff. But I'm going to share these links and resources with you guys as well. The National Suicide Crisis Lifeline 988, you can dial that. But there's, other things here, New Mexico Crisis Line, external link, NAMI, external link, find help. So very, very interesting. And thank you for all the links, It's all very important to have available for our people in the public. Because New Mexico, we obviously have some work to do. We are not where we need to be. So what does that mean for pharmacists, right? What are things that pharmacists do to help prevent suicide? And again, suicide rates that do continue to rise, with the population rising, the changes going on in our society right now. We're looking at all that. It's a big deal. So pharmacists, are able to see a little bit of at-risk patients because, pharmacists dispense all the medications to patients, whether it's mental health drugs, chronic disease medications. Pharmacists are really doing everything besides legal drugs and like over-the-counters. So again, pharmacists are in a unique position to be able to see if they can help to mitigate what suicidal thoughts, may or may not be happening with their patients. But again, something that I thought that was very important, was this something in pharmacy school particularly that, we were taught to identify, and not necessarily, open-ended counseling and things like that were there, but really looking at suicide prevention training program, I thought it was pretty cool, and I'm going to share with you guys a little study of that here. right there, training student pharmacists in suicide awareness and prevention. Looking at that, doubling down on the screen. And granted, it's going to be slightly hard to read. I'm just kind of showing you guys a little bit of the general mix here, because I don't think, even in New Mexico, even over at UTEP, we may not be doing this to the degree that we could potentially be doing this and identifying it, especially looking at New Mexico being the fourth worst state in the nation in suicides. What could our pharmacists, pharmacy teams do a little bit better? And looking at this, so scrolling right down to show you guys a little bit of the parts of the course for training, student pharmacists who participated in a suicide prevention training program. So what were the things that they were supposed to evaluate in the study, right? Student pharmacists. Which of the following age groups is at a higher risk for suicide? Which gender is at a higher risk for attempting suicide? What is the most common means in suicide deaths? What is the most common means used in suicide deaths and attempts with hospitalization? What is the first step in the learned suicide prevention method? What does L stand for? Empathy is the same as sympathy. A in learn stands for ask about suicide. Which of the following is the best way to ask about suicide? What is the number, for the National Suicide Prevention Hotline? In pharmacy school, obviously, we will get you to the New Mexico Poison Control Center like the back of our head. But do we know the number to the National Suicide Prevention Hotline? Pharmacists, pharmacy school students, interns, I just challenge us. Just remember it, 988. It's very easy. What are the 4 recommendations in the Safer Homes messaging regarding medications? List the risk factors for suicide. Please list as many as you know. List the warning signs. And so, again, pharmacists, how confident are you in your ability to identify suicide warnings in a patient? I can probably tell you, maybe I got some red flag indicators here, and my intuition on people is relatively good. But gosh, when you ask it like that, who's willing to bet their license on something like that, right? That's scary, But what could you do there, right? How confident are you in your ability to empathize and listen without judgment to a coworker, a peer, a family member, a patient? How confident are you in directly asking a patient about suicide? How confident are you in your ability to provide resources for suicide prevention to a patient? How confident are you in your ability to provide resources to suicide prevention in a coworker or a peer? If someone I knew was showing signs of suicide, I would directly raise the question of suicide with them, ? Would you? So, looking at that studying and that training there, being a little bit more upfront, direct, and, able to ask those harder questions and acknowledge it versus brush it under the rug, not only pharmacists, not only interns, not only technicians, but just people can just be a little bit more thoughtful about, right? Identifying, those who may be at risk, trying to connect resources where resources may be available, so on and so forth. Cool. So that's our Pharmacist Frontline segment today. Thank you guys. Brought to you by Pharmtrue. Much appreciated. So, some more things to be aware of. Suicide Awareness Month. It's September. It's Healthy Aging Month. And we got a lot of things there. So, that's where we're at. All right. Well, you're sharing right now, how can we leverage technology for better suicide prevention? What can we do in our Tech Talk segment to talk about that a little better? And I'm discussing a little bit of a journal read from the American Medical Association, but, even according to these guys, technology hasn't yet played the role many expected it would in helping to prevent suicides. But, leveraging digital health and machine learning in 3 areas believed to contribute to suicide deaths could go far in helping save people's lives. And this was a Viewpoint column published in JAMA, but I'm going to read a little bit of this viewpoint, and I'm going to share it with you guys on the screen just so you guys can see exactly what I'm showing. And this is in 2019, so I'm very interested to see, what technology and things start to come out for this, because we're not exactly there yet. So again, over here, because the rates of suicide attempts and deaths have recently increased to a 50-year high, new solutions are needed. The urgency to reverse the trend has brought attention to technology-based tools such as texting, smartphones, electronic health records, machine learning algorithms that can offer crucial data to the prognostication of suicide or immediate support for those at risk. So, looking at this, guys, I don't get access to the full volume here, but what we can see here is that there are limited technological advances in suicide prevention. And we've got some phone numbers. My chat is being odd that I can't share that with you currently, but I will go ahead and link that when I can, for our suicide prevention crisis. But again, identifying that obviously is going to be hard, but where can our algorithm do a little bit better in helping people identify those things? We hope to encourage a little bit more of that. We hope to encourage some better, situations for our community that technology can help prevent and leverage to, reduce our suicide rates. So again, those of you who are tech savvy, if you can think of things in tech that may be the one that fixes it, well, get after it. Cool. So moving on, guys, Enlightenment Hour, suggesting earlier again where, showing kindness can not only help you, but help someone else. I want to go into a little bit of the science of kindness here. And I think it's important to, go ahead and talk about here, because we're looking at kindness and suicide prevention, right? And where that falls, because again, the way what our bodies perceive stress, handle stress, in many cases is a factor of, our entire lives and protection of our environment and all those things. So you have to do a lot of, inner work there to figure out how to rethink the idea of stress. But again, what if you thought of, hey, well, I could double dip by not only reducing my stress, but being kind to others. Being kind and caring can help you feel good about something and help you reduce your stress, which, is ideally going to support our mission on Suicide Awareness Month, because you could, not only prevent yourself from experiencing a cascade of stress, which may lead to suicide, you might help someone with your act of kindness while healing yourself to thus maybe, heal themselves and not have to consider suicide. So think about those moments in your life where that could be an interventional point, and somewhere where you can look at, hey, I could triple down on my behavior to some degree, or I could triple down on being kind here to some degree. Where can that kindness turn into contagiousness? And when you look at the science behind that, I'm going to share that with you guys on the screen, science of kindness, you can literally see it's a thing. I'm just sharing you guys the website, literally called scienceofkindness.com or envisionkindness.org/science of kindness. And they talk about, different articles going on, the science, sauce of kindness, connection. They've give you all kinds of good articles, and It's nice. Let me show you this visual that they got here. So, today's quote: "The ideas that have lighted my way have been kindness, beauty, and truth." Albert Einstein. The brain. Again, so pictures of kindness increase joy and happiness. More joy. Pictures of kindness. So much for cat videos. Gotta get kind pics. Want to feel good? Try kindness photos. Great before exams. Again, and speaking of exams, so this physician here is talking about, in addition to being a physician, he's also a scientist, someone who likes to understand things, work, and loves doing experiments to ask these questions. In this session, diving into Envision Kindness' own research, which focuses on defining how images of kindness affect people. Short answer: these images potently inspire large increases in joy, love, hope, gratitude, and compassion, much more than even pretty pictures like puppies in a basket or a beautiful landscape. What is the aim from this physician here? To convince you, the reader, to rebalance your visual diet and include kindness pics into it. Your sense of joy and connection could change remarkably. So, think about that. If you understand the truth, make better sense of, and benefit the world, you can literally, see this. So looking at this study here and this research study, they designed a study to ask how people responded to a variety of images. The images included negative, those of violence, destruction, and neglect; neutral, hammers, towels, and doorknobs; positive, pretty images, puppies in a basket, bunnies, flowers, etc. These types of images were from a standard set that psychologists have used for years. Last group of images was kindness. Examples in these included a woman in distress on a dark stairwell, being comforted by a police officer; a young man with a shaven head, looking up from a sea of shaven heads. This young man was going for chemotherapy and his friends shaved their heads in support. That image from Josh Meltzer, one of our photography advisors, is included in this blog. Before they saw any of the images, every one of the 400 participants completed questionnaires on how they were feeling. All were pretty happy at the beginning of the study. Then each was assigned to look at images in one of the groups. So 100 people saw negative images, 100 neutral, etc. And after completing the questionnaires, this is how they felt. And the negative images did exactly what they had been shown to do before. People reported marked increases in sadness, fear, anxiety, decreases in joy, optimism, gratitude. Guys, think about that as I kill that bug. It was really impressive to see how the negative images quickly and dramatically affected people. Neutral images didn't do much of anything. Positive images increased the feelings of love and trust. The people who saw images of kindness had about double the increase in joy, happiness, optimism, and gratitude. That the 100 people who saw positive images, double the effect on self-reported love and trust, and a bunch of other emotions were measured. So, not only can being kind help heal you, help reduce your stress, it can help reduce somebody else's stress. Take a picture of that kindness, and you can do that in the masses, guys. Be kind. Take pictures. Don't be fake. But seriously, be the change that somebody wants to see. Don't be that person just posting that, whatever it's going to be. You could get in there and post a selfie, or you could get in there and post a selfie of you being kind to somebody and try to make everybody else feel that good feeling of optimism, joy, hope, because they will. Science even proves it. It's awesome. That's what we're sharing with you guys right now. Enlightenment Hour. Excellent. So I'm going to pop that off the screen. Boom, boom, boom. Moving on to the next segment, guys. Just looking at some studies, other studies here as we do look at cannabis and suicide rates for Suicide Month here. I don't think that, I don't want to see cannabis getting thrown into some odd loops here. So I just want to make sure that we look at concurring data that can suggest, one way or another. So I'm reading an article from U.S. News showing that National Poison Data System records a 17% yearly increase in reports of suicidal people who have been poisoned by using too much cannabis. Nearly 18,700 cases of suicidal behavior associated with cannabis poisoning were reported to U.S. poison centers between 2009 and 2021, according to a study on JAMA. Nearly all cases, 96%, involved the use of cannabis along with another substance like alcohol, benzos, or drugs. About 10% of these cases resulted in death, major disability, disfigurement, or some other tragic outcome. But, this is where this study was trying to say suicides linked to cannabis poisoning doubled among kids in ages 5 to 13 years, rising from 1.3% in 2019 to 3.1% in 2021. So, right, what are we saying here? Seniors, age 65 and older, were the age group most likely to die or have a major outcome related to marijuana-related suicide attempt, according to this study. Marijuana poisoning involves using cannabis in the quantity or of the potency to create symptoms distressing enough to require medical attention and or a phone call to a poison control center. So, I want to talk about it so that we don't get fear-mongered here, guys. I don't want to give any sort of situation that creates, an ideation that, hey, well, cannabis is the gateway drug and cannabis leads to more suicides thus. We're beyond that, guys. We know it. We know that cannabis consumption does not lead somebody to suicide. People who suffer from mood disorders self-medicate with cannabis. Some people it works, for some it doesn't. And for some, there's a lot of other things going on. And whether or not cannabis is some part of confounding data, it's just not enough yet to suggest, that there's any sort of consistent, regulated data that could even put, cannabis into some sort of suicide package. So people who are using cannabis without guidance for reasons that, maybe stressful life, thinking about suicide, this, that, and the other, and cannabis is part of those options, well, on the path to, I'm going to end my life, if cannabis is a stepping stone there, for some, it's probably just as much of a stepping stone as wine, beer, anything else, when you really put it that way. And the data is not there to support it one way or another. That's why, we're just talking about it just to talk about it and see where things can be better. Cannabis can, in some degrees, THC doses can exacerbate certain mental health conditions, can exacerbate psychosis. Will it in all places? No. But it can. It can. All right, guys. Second to last thing here is community spotlight. Meeting the heroes behind Las Cruces suicide prevention. I want to highlight the LC Suicide Prevention Task Force. Awesome. Very much appreciate these guys for all that they do. They've got a training that was going on today, and they're going at it all month long. So connecting you guys for these guys, the LC Suicide Prevention Training Task Force. If my chat was working, I would absolutely share that with you right now. Excellent. But it's not. So anyways, LC Suicide Prevention Task Force. Super appreciate these guys showing their training and events. I'm going to go ahead and just share it on the screen for access locally for those who are interested. And their calendar, lcsuicideprevention.com/training. Boom, boom, boom. Taking you all the way in. Look at their events and their resources there. Even got some virtual training. September 14th is their next one. On Zoom, you can register there. Very, very cool. Much appreciated to that group. Absolutely. So absolutely highlighting those guys in our community spotlight tonight. LC Suicide Prevention Task Force in Suicide Prevention Month, as we had a nice little conversation on stuff today. Last thing today, talking about men's mental health, Movember. I'm going to share with you guys a tab. So globally, on average, one man dies by suicide every minute of every day. And right, we don't want to accept this. In the United States, the rate of male suicide is alarmingly high. Approximately 4 out of 5 suicides in the United States are men. We can't sit back and accept this. So, this is an all year long strategy. And I know it's, I'm showing you guys a resource from a group called Movember. But, there are real growth stories and education and conversations that can work. They are down there trying to figure out, services that work for men, advocating for men in community there. And let's see. I'm going to pull this link up and share with you guys a little video real quick. 1 minute and 18-second long. Give me 2 seconds. Hi, guys. Let's see.
Dear Mum and Dad, this isn't your fault.
But I've been doing it really tough for a good while now.
I'm sorry I can't be the father you want me to be.
You'll find another best friend.
There's no one's fault. No one caused it.
Please move on. That's all I want.
I love you. And I'm done.
I wrote this 6 years ago.
I wrote this 3 years ago.
I wrote this 4 years ago.
That was 15 years ago.
You mightn't have time to...
End of it. Oh, actually better for that way because...
Let's go, Aldrich.
By talking.
All right. So with that, I will go ahead and end that tonight. I hope that, gives you guys a little bit of a powerful segment there. Men's Health Minute. Men talk more. Best we can do right now. It's hard. I'll tell you that straight up as a guy. It's hard to talk. And I sit here on live stream every day, but some things are just hard to talk about. So, Suicide Prevention Month. Let's be better. We can do it.